BRICS, the group of emerging countries led by Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, just invited 5 new countries at the beginning of 2024. Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. And by all accounts, BRICS is looking to invite even more countries, with reportedly dozens of countries having applied to become a full member. We're talking about countries from all across the world. So in this video, let's look specifically at Asia to find 3 new countries who could possibly be a good fit to join BRICS. And the way we'll be doing that is using the same strategies BRICS just used for their recent expansion and applying it to these new countries in Asia. And we'll be ranking these countries on 3 separate categories. But before we start talking about these individual countries, we need to dive deeper into what the BRICS expansion strategies were and what's actually at stake for these Asian countries. At the 15th annual BRICS Summit in August 2023, the 5 BRICS nations met to discuss alignment, economic strategy, and yes, expansion, which technically hasn't happened since the group invited South Africa back in 2010. And at this BRICS Summit, it was announced that they would like to invite 6 new countries to the bloc. Yes, you heard that correctly, 6, not 5. Argentina and their new president, Javier Milei, officially rejected the BRICS invitation. So instead, let's focus on the other 5 and again try and figure out what the BRICS expansion strategy was and then how we can project new Asian countries from it. When looking at these 5 new BRICS countries, it is very obvious that they all have 2 things in common, and the first is location. And by that, I mean that BRICS really focused on trying to create more of a regional balance within the bloc. With Brazil all by themselves in the middle of nowhere, it made sense for BRICS to invite a new Latin American country, but obviously that didn't work out. Then if we look at South Africa, who has the smallest economy of the 5 founding BRICS countries and likely the smallest global influence, it made sense for that region to get 2 new countries. And with China and India being the 2 largest economies within BRICS and 2 of the largest economies in the world, it made sense that no new countries were added from their specific region, but this video is looking to change that. The other factor to this location strategy is their actual physical location on a map and how it could benefit BRICS. You can't make this up. Look where these 5 new countries are located: Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates, all in close proximity to each other, all of them except Ethiopia on the coast, making it easier for global trade, and one of them, Egypt, controlling one of the most important trade routes in the world, the Suez Canal. These waters will now be monitored by BRICS countries. Location seems very important, but the next strategy, in my opinion, is way more important, and that is that BRICS is looking to control the world's energy supply. So with the additions of Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Iran, BRICS will now have 6 of the top 10 oil producers in the world. This is important because oil transactions for the longest time have been tied to the US dollar. Back in the day, the United States and Saudi Arabia made a deal that the United States would help protect Saudi Arabia and the region if Saudi Arabia agreed to only trade oil in the dollar, otherwise known as the petrodollar. This means that countries now needed to hold the dollar in order to make oil transactions to help provide energy for their countries. This is known as the dollar wallet, but countries don't use all the money in their dollar wallet. So instead of having their money just sit there losing purchasing power to inflation over time, they would invest those dollars into the US stock market, making the United States an investing juggernaut. This was a vicious cycle for countries around the world who couldn't escape their need for having the dollar. But times are changing as these countries, led by BRICS, now see an opportunity to collectively reduce the reliance on the dollar. We are seeing it specifically in oil transactions as Saudi Arabia has traded for oil in the Chinese yuan. The UAE and India have agreed to trade for oil in their local currencies, along with other examples of this as well. And as this continues to gain momentum and countries use less and less of the dollar, this could put a ton of pressure going forward on the petrodollar. Okay, so now that we have this all laid out, let's jump into the first Asian country to join BRICS. But before we do that, we have to explain the rules. So I'll be ranking each of these countries in 3 separate categories out of 10. The first category is the country's oil and energy production. The second category is its location and how it could possibly benefit BRICS. And the third category is the country's interest in joining. And this is actually the last video of a 3-part series highlighting 3 different regions around the world: Latin America, Africa, and now Asia. So if this is the first time in this series, make sure to check out the other videos I have for you down in the description. Our first country on the list has been outwardly trying to join BRICS for the last 5 years or so, and that country is Turkey. Their president has done many interviews expressing his interest, including one where he said BRICS should just add the T already, referring to Turkey being added to the acronym. He even went so far as having ice cream dates with Russia's president to help convince them. So we know that the interest is there, but what about the other metrics? Turkey barely falls inside the top 50 in terms of oil production and outside the top 50 when it comes to natural gas. And some of their top exports include vehicles, machinery, and precious metals. But what about their location? They are in the same region of the world as the new members joining for 2024 and control the waterways leading into the Black Sea, but are otherwise relatively tucked away from being able to have a larger global influence. All right, it's time to give out some Turkey grades. For their oil and energy grade, let's give them a 3. For location, let's give them a 6. And interest in joining BRICS, let's give them a 12 for a total score of 21. The next country on the list that could join BRICS is Bangladesh. This seems like such an easy fit. Bangladesh became a member of the BRICS Bank, otherwise known as the New Development Bank, back in 2021. The purpose of this bank is an investing hub for projects in the country and regions of its members, and Bangladesh is looking for financial assistance. They have reportedly submitted a proposal worth $9 billion to create 5 critical bridges throughout its country to help itself be more connected. Bangladesh has a few large pesky waterways dividing up its country, so to make itself more efficient, they deem these bridges to be a necessity add. Okay, so we know that the fit probably already works, but what about their energy production and location? Here's why these bridges could be important. Bangladesh sits on the eastern border of India, currently the 5th largest economy in the world, and the country picked by many to see the largest growth over the next few decades. Bangladesh has the 8th largest population in the world and are one of the cheapest countries in the region when it comes to manufacturing. They have recently been ranked number 30 when it comes to openness for business, ahead of countries like India and Japan. So if they can continue to not only increase jobs, but higher quality jobs, having the country be more connected with these bridges seems like it will help level up their economy. However, they are not as promising when it comes to their energy production. They are ranked 80th in the world when it comes to their oil production and 32nd when it comes to natural gas. And now it's time to give out their grades. For oil and energy production, I'll give them a 4. Location, I'll give them a 6, and their desire to join BRICS a 9 for a total score of 19. The third country on the list who might be a good fit to join BRICS is Malaysia. Now, if we look at the same criteria that we have for the first 2 countries, Malaysia might not seem the most impressive. They have the 16th largest economy within Asia through 2023, which was kind of surprising. I personally thought they would be higher. They do not crack the top 100 in the world when it comes to oil production, but do have the 15th highest natural gas production. But Malaysia has recently shared their updated economic philosophy, and surprise, surprise, it aligns with what BRICS is trying to do exactly. Malaysia is following in the footsteps of BRICS in its effort to eliminate the US dollar for trade deals. Malaysia's prime minister confirmed they will aggressively pursue de-dollarization efforts similar to the motives of the BRICS alliance. Here is his direct quote: "To entirely stop the reliance on the US dollar will be difficult, but Malaysia will be more active and aggressive in the use of trading." We haven't talked about Malaysia's location yet, but it actually ties closely to a country we are just about to talk about. So what I'm going to do is give out their grades, and the context for their location will be shared soon, for retention. For oil and energy production, I have to give them a 3. For location, they get a 9. And interest in joining BRICS, they also get a 9 for a total score of 21. Oh, hey, that's right, we have a bonus country to talk about. But before we get into that, I wanted to let you know that I make videos about world news impacting the dollar and the US economy. So if you like topics like this, talking about BRICS and other countries around the world and their impact on the dollar, make sure to subscribe to the channel. The bonus country is Indonesia. They used to have higher crude oil exports, but that has declined over the last decade. They rank 27th in crude oil reserves and 12th in natural gas. That's fine, not great, but their best feature has to be their location. Their vast islands sit a stone's throw away from the world's factory. So the majority of shipments coming from or going to China most likely will be routed through Indonesia, specifically the Malacca Strait, which is the gateway to the rest of Asia, Africa, and Europe, and is shared with our previous country, Malaysia. BRICS having more visibility in these waters could feel like a nice strategic advantage for them, but in the case of if Indonesia actually wants to join BRICS, it gets a little confusing because there are some mixed signals. Leaders of the country have said that it's not the right time or they don't want to rush the membership, and that they're also focusing on being more autonomous themselves and they don't want to box themselves into just one economic grouping. So with that said, let's give out some grades. For oil and energy, let's give them a score of 6. For location, a score of 10. And interest in joining, we'll give them a 5.5 since it's unclear at the moment. This gives them a total score of 21.5. So let's summarize the 4 countries here. Indonesia tops the list with 21.5 points, then tied with 21 are Malaysia and Turkey, and Bangladesh coming in 4th with 19 points. After looking at this list, I feel pretty confident about Indonesia, if their location wants to join, of course, and I feel like Turkey could be snubbed yet again. But I want to hear from you. Which country from this region do you expect to join BRICS that I haven't included in this video? If you liked this video, you'll love the entire 3-part series, which I've put into a playlist for you. The first video, Latin America. The next video is Africa. So if you want to find out who's joining BRICS from those specific regions of the world, make sure to check out this playlist here.